Call this meeting to order. Dear Heavenly Father, during a holy week of this week, please help guide us in doing the constituency's business in the best behalf. Please pray for the people across the pond and France as the Cathedral of Notre Dame has been burned. Please help those people heal in their devastation. Help us today, Lord, and every day. Guide us in making the best decisions for this community. Amen. Mr. DeBono, would you lead us in the pledge?
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Hess.
Here.
Commissioner Felix Lopez.
Here.
Commissioner Luis Lopez.
Here. Approval of agenda. Change as you read.
Unless there are no changes.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Commissioner Felix Lopez.
Yes.
Commissioner Luis Lopez.
Yes. Consideration of minutes, regular meeting minutes, April 2nd, 2019.
Move for approval. Second.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Commissioner Felix Lopez.
Yes.
Commissioner Luis Lopez.
Yes. Reading of correspondence, commissioners, committee reports. We'll start off with doing our recognitions this morning. And we have some really neat, and I'm going to defer this to Mr. Hass and introduce this, if I may do so, and give us some information.
So, back in, I don't know, what was it, 2 or 3 months ago, went to a training in Lamar to learn how to, that's Mrs. Hatch, to learn how to write grants. And so when she got back, she was really excited. She wrote a grant. It was to the Robert Ho Rawlings Foundation, and she was able to get that grant. So this is our way of saying congratulations, and we have the instructor from the Ag department from home here, and he's got one of his is that an officer there? FMI officer?
No, sir. It's a senior.
Good. Well,
Would you like to
come
go?
up?
So I'm Jesse Price, the agriculture education instructor at Honey, and Mrs. Hass helped us secure a very significantly sized grant to buy a plasma cam system and a table. And why that's important to me is because it allows our students to get training and to actually use equipment that they're using in the industry today. I'm sure most of us have heard of Vestas. We have a former student, Chris Lujan, who's working there, and he calls me and tells me, he says, hey, you got to get one of these tables. They're training me how to use one right now. He said, they're hiring me as a welder, but they're training me on all the equipment. He said, had I had the training on this in high school, it would have went much smoother for me. And he said, honestly, kids need to know how to do that. So that's important to me, to have our students career and job ready. And then we can do some really cool stuff. I printed off some examples and I ran off and left them in my office to show you, but anything you can dream up, if you put it in the software, it'll cut it out. Basically, that picture right there, it would do it on metal, essentially. And then very cool stuff. I'm very excited. And then I brought Xavier Chavez with me to kind of share why it's important to the students and how they feel about it.
What was the amount of that grant again?
It was a little over 10 grand, I believe. And Mrs. Hass?
10,500.
It was 10,500. I apologize. But
Mr. Chavez, would you like to say anything?
I just want to say thank you guys for doing this because, like Mr. Price said, it is going to help out our Harmony FFA chapter tremendously because giving those kids just like little bits of what I went into. I went up to Henderson and applied for TAP program with Cummins, which is a technician apprenticeship. And being that I was in the shop for 4 years and learning how to weld and how to use the plasma and stuff like that, they actually offered me it's like a side and a generation side of the whole business. So basically, I can be doing anything from working on the generators to making these big buildings that the generators go inside to power hospitals and other skyscrapers. So being at that, us having this would be tremendous for our kids. Just to give them a chance to learn something else and that they're using in the industry.
No, that's awesome.
Well, Connie, congratulations and thank you. I think vocational education is really
I found this through Rural Philanthropy Days. I think those are really important. And they travel around the state every year, as you know. They've been in Trinidad before, and anytime we have the opportunity to bring them here, we should do that. Because it opens the avenue to find all the funders that are in the state that are looking for rural people to fund. And so I think it's real important that we do that.
Well, thank you. Xavier, would you give us the honor of presenting this in this house? In the middle. Got your hands in the pocket. I'm the shortest guy in here.
Thank you.
I think that's I always enjoy starting a meeting with nice, good news for our community and our youth and our education program. So thank you. And we have also Mr. Nick DeBono in the room today, a very special veteran and member of our community, veteran service officer for 36 years. Mr. Nick DeBono was in the Korean War from 1951 to 53. He was also in the Battle of Fort Chop Hill, and he has served on many wars and communities and continues today. I'd like to have Mr. Odom come up and give a few words about how he has been influenced with Mr. DeBono and as our new veteran service officer. I know you weren't prepared for this, Ray.
Good morning. My name is Ray Odom. I'm the new veteran service officer. Came here in 2010 when I first met Mr. DeBono. And from that point on, I watched him, and then he trained Al Trujillo, who took over after him. And so all that knowledge that he passed down to Al was passed down to me. We thank you for your service. You've also been an active member for 50 years with the American Legion. And so we're just great that you're here. And also, one other catch, I want to tell you that medals will be presented. Korean War medals. We got the Korean ambassador coming down June 15th to present awards to all the Korean War veterans here in our town. So that's another honor that's going to be taking place. But I just thank you for all your service and everything that you've done over the years. And that's from the county all the way down to all the veterans. Thank you.
Did our exercise today. Over here. It's a real honor, a real side story. Mr. DeBono brought my father American flags for decades, and at the Veterans Center I was able to help raise the flag with him. So it's pretty neat. Congratulations. You know, sometimes this job, 2 years of, a little over 2 years of doing this, is sometimes very difficult. And I'm, I guess, thankless job. And today is it's true an honor to do this with Mr. Bono and Mrs. Hass. And we have one other special person that we're going to recognize. Today we have recognition of our 911 emergency dispatchers. And we have Rita Mentelli in the room. Would you please come? Could you give us a brief overview of your position and what you've been doing for the last 19 years?
Okay, I'm Rita Mentelli, Communications Director for the Trinidad Police Department, 911 Community Center. And I've been doing this for 20 years now. And we have currently 6 dispatchers that are working in our center, and one's coming on board at the end of April. And when I first started, we used to punch cards, and now we're taking texts to 911, and it's all computer generated, and we dispatch the entire city and the entire county for medical, fire, and law enforcement. So for me to come here to be recognized by the commissioners is a real honor and a way to appreciate our dispatchers, because they work so hard and they work in a dark room at times, and all that's illuminating in there are all these screens, looking at 6 screens all the time and picking up phones. And they're faceless, but they are, you know, our first responder, really. They take the initial brunt, and then we send our officers who take the complaint, or medical, or fire, whichever it may be. So we really appreciate this, and I want to say thank you for the invite, and thank you all, commissioners.
And I want to thank you for what you guys do. I've been in that blue room. It's claustrophobic for me. I couldn't do it all day long, and I'd like to thank you all for that. Commissioner Lopez, would you like to read the flag?
Well, Rita, first of all, on behalf of the county commissioners, congratulations and thank you for all you do. I spent a few minutes with you about a month ago, and you are that officer's companion. And what I heard as you guys walked through the process, that officer's life is in your hands. So thank you for that. And so there's many days you probably think that it's just monotony, but your job is probably one of the most important positions that any first responder out there in the field can actually do. So thank you and congratulations for that. This certificate of recognition, 911 emergency dispatchers, the golden glue that holds it all together. San Dimas County recognizes that between the thin red line and thin blue lines lies the tiniest gold line. The gold line represents those who are rarely seen but mostly heard, the convoys of those who are rarely, and that's you all, the dispatchers. You are the golden glue that holds it all together. County Commissioners, Luis Lopez, Tony Hass, and Felix Lopez. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, it's cold. It has to keep it cold because it got bundled up in the summer.
reports, committee reports, I'll start with Mr. Ness.
Yeah, on April 4th, I was chosen to deliver our opposition letter to 181, and so I drove up to Denver and went to the governor's office, and I was there before the sun was up, I think, and the guard came up to the door and he says, "You're here bright and early?" And I said, "Yeah, when did the doors open?" He says, 7 o'clock. It was about 6:15, so I said, "I'll be here when you open the door." So like the Pony Express, I delivered the letter and was able to go to the governor's office, and it was pretty busy that day. I think he was signing the letter that day also. As soon as that was over, I walked about 8 blocks to the county health pool boardroom, and that meeting happened to be their budget audit meeting. And what I can tell you is that they have a very clean report, very healthy, and financially sound. That's it.
Just a couple of follow-up items. Last week I attended a meeting in Colorado Springs with Children's Hospital, just to see if there was an opportunity to connect. They're opening up a brand new hospital in Colorado Springs, and Children's is going to be probably at that location available middle of May, maybe sometime in May, June. So the intent of attending that gathering was to see if there's a way that we can get some of the services here in the San Luis County. In 2011, there was a report done on the services and the medical opportunities for our community, and we, at that time, were one of the most underserved medical communities, basically anywhere in any county. So my thing has always been that when you help little ones, a community succeeds, and by having good medical services, good education, of course, and other factors, it's very important and imperative. So I asked them to consider us to be a voice at the table, so we can have and who knows what kind of services at this time. I personally think that a lot of families don't treat their children because of transportation issues. So from that perspective, I'll keep you all informed and see where this conversation goes. But I'm really delighted and excited that they pulled up a chair and they invited San Luis County to the tables.
Council of Governments is working still out with the deal with our county and Taha regarding the ancient fire truck that we're still in that tunnel, so we're still kind of discussing that. Council of Governments is also reaching out to purchase the building in Walsenburg for their expansion or their growth, because they're getting kicked out of the community center because of the flood issue. We started on monitoring the flood issues with Huerfano County and assisting them in any way we can with our health department and our emergency management center. The director, Kim Chavez, has been working on that as well. I also met with OPI yesterday, and I'm going to defer any dialogue that happened there from Ms. Berg. She is here in person today, the director of one of our programs for the partners for our lending. And so I'll defer to that until she comes up here at very new business. And that's all I've got. Public comment. No public comment today. Does anybody out there want to sign up for public comment? Reports. Congressman Ken Buck's office update presented by Robin Coran. Right. Come on up.
Good morning, Commissioners. Glad to be here. Honored to be here and bring you an update from the Congressman's office. Again, my name is Robin Coran. I am his district director. And we have a full day today meeting with different constituents, and of course here at this meeting today, but just to be more informed about what's going on in Trinidad and Los Animas County, and I think we have a tour of Temple Aaron and maybe a meeting with the mayor, and to learn more about the art district that you guys are working on. And so just glad to be here today, and I'm just going to read you a few items about latest things that Kim Buck has been working on. First of all, I don't believe that you have been updated on his committee assignments, so he is going to continue to serve on the House Judiciary Committee and is now the ranking member on the Immigration and Citizenship Subcommittee. His new assignment is on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, serving on the Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations and the Subcommittee on Western Hemisphere Civilian Security and Trade. The Congressman looks forward to his ability to prioritize Ag with his new Foreign Affairs Committee assignment. He chose the Judiciary Committee over Agriculture because a workable immigration system is vital to the agriculture in the country. He very specifically wanted to be the lead Republican on the subcommittee on immigration so that he can work on achieving a stable legal workforce. He can support the ag programs and the Farm Bill regardless of his committee assignments. So being on the judiciary puts him at ground zero for the labor issues. Secondly, on these ag issues, he has supported efforts with the U.S. trade representatives urging inclusion of agricultural products in upcoming trade negotiations with the European Union. He has requested that the U.S. trade representative prioritize wheat products in any trade negotiations with Brazil, and he's requested that the fiscal year 2020 appropriations support the Rural Utility Services loan program that benefits rural electric co-ops. He also has co-sponsored the Transporting Livestock Across America Safely Act, which modifies the DOT's hours of service regulations to provide livestock haulers with additional flexibility. Already this year, Congressman Buck has had the opportunity to work on many issues that directly impact our district. He co-sponsored H.R. 2018, which is the Death Tax Repeal Act, and it repeals the estate tax and the generation skipping transfer tax. He also joined his colleagues from the West in supporting the Colorado River Drought Contingency Plan Authorization Act, where it unanimously passed the House. Work on this project has been underway for already nearly 6 years. This legislation will approve this long-awaited plan and will safeguard the water supply for more than 40 million people who depend on the Colorado River drinking water for farming, irrigation, and hydropower. The Congressman was glad to see this bill pass the House, and it's critical that we do everything we can to ensure continued access to the vital resources that sustain the life and economy of our region. Congressman Buck also introduced H.R. 1330, the Amanche Study Act, and was signed into law as part of S-47, the Senate's Natural Lands Package. And if you have more details, I can actually send you these notes afterwards if you'd like me to do that. Congressman Buck introduced the Water and Agriculture Tax Reform, or the Water Act, of 2019. He believes the Water Act is a common sense, free market solution that will help support our local economies, addressing the rising cost of water and assist our farmers and ranchers to ensure funds are reinvested in rural water infrastructure. Congressman Buck worked hard to get this legislation through the House last year, and he's hopeful that it will pass the House this year, as well as the Senate, where Senator Cory Gardner will co-sponsor it in the Senate. The Congressman is also looking at various proposals to change or fix the H-2A Agriculture Guest Worker Visa Program, as this program is vital to our agriculture industry in Colorado. Congressman Buck signed Senator Bennett's letter along with the entire Colorado delegation and Governor Jared Polis, urging the U.S. Department of Defense to reestablish and return the Space Command to one of Colorado's 4 Air Force installations. Congressman Buck reintroduced the APEX Act. This bipartisan legislation would ensure a fair and free market for the pricing of aluminum in the United States. This legislation grants the Commodities Futures Trading Commission the statutory authority to conduct oversight over the aluminum market, and to investigate price setting, benchmarking, and reporting entities. At the same time, this bill enables all regulatory and oversight actions aligned with the antitrust statutes. And lastly, the House passed a War Powers resolution that would end American military support for the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen. Congressman Buck was the original co-sponsor of the resolution and introduced an amendment to the resolution to keep our intelligence sharing agreement in place. This amendment was adopted and included in the final bill. Ken believes the Constitution establishes a separation of powers, including the use of military force, and that Congress must declare war before the President, as Commander-in-Chief, can lead the men and women of our military. And so that is concludes my report for today. Thank you for your time. And like I said, if you would like the information, I can have that emailed to you later this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not going to give a separate one.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good to be down here with you today.
Oh, are you?
I'm glad to be able to show my district director around.
Okay. All right. I guess we move on to the most important guy in the room, Mr. Kerry Tobby, Building Inspector.
Thank you very much. Since we're giving accolades to everyone today, I appreciate what you do as well. I don't have a black for you,
Don't get up, guys, it's okay. I brought a report for you about the building department in the first quarter of 2019. We sold 31 building permits total. 5 of those were actual houses, and 2 of them were manufactured homes. The fees for those permits totaled $20,154 for the first quarter. The valuation of those permits is $2,360,267. Those valuations added to the county once we finish these projects. I was going to bring to your attention that we actually, right now, we have 35 homes being built in Los Alamos County, from over there, all over the place. They're all in different phases of construction. Some are nearing completion. I think I have one that hasn't started. I have to go and find out why I haven't started it. He pulled a permit last year. But there are 35 homes going on right now. In my travels, during the first quarter, I have traveled 4,419 miles. That's not on your paper, whatever that's worth.
Still in good shape?
What's that?
The truck's still okay?
It's doing all right, yeah, so far. So, is there any questions?
Kerry and I always ask this, how are we, if we were to compare the new permits that we're having right now versus a year ago, are we doing better, equally, or?
First quarter a year ago, I don't know. But I can get that for you.
Okay.
I'd probably say they're about even if I remember correctly.
I think it is.
There's not a lot that goes on at that time of year.
We might be ahead of last year, actually, right now.
Yeah, if I remember your report last year, it might be about the same, or a little more.
Oh yeah, I gave a report last year, you should have that.
I was here. Yeah, it's in my office somewhere. Anything else? Topic?
Anything else?
Anything else?
You good?
Thank you, sir. Old business. Move on to new business. Consideration of CDBG grant to OPI Incorporated, Ms. Danelle Bird. Mrs.
Brought me some reading material for when you can't sleep at night.
That's every night.
Well, you'll enjoy this then. Bill? Yes.
is great. This is the lady I get to deal with monthly in La Junta. I go there, and she does an excellent job for this organization. So I applaud for her.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm Danelle Berg, and I'm with Otero County Economic Development. And I loved coming today because I met Christy for the first time, and she's on our loan review committee. And Paula has helped me so much with everything that goes on down here. And so a face and a name. Phil's been down to an OB meeting before, and I haven't met the two other commissioners. So thank you for having me, and it was lovely to come in. I had a little trouble finding a parking place, but I did. I hope my car's still there. But I also want to say I follow some wonderful people. As economic developer, I work with manufacturing sector partnerships as well as workforce development. And that plasma cutter is going to enhance your students beyond measure. Oliver Manufacturing in Otero County will be able to snap those kids up if they have that education. So good job in getting that grant and helping your education and your kids do more in school so that they can choose between going to a four-year college or entering the workforce and have those skills. That's tremendous. So I'm here today not asking for money. That's kind of unusual for me. But one of the hats that I wear is I direct I'm the business loan administrator for the community development block grant funds that Otero and Los Animas County share and administer through Otero Partners Incorporated. We have an intergovernmental agreement between our two counties as well as the 6 communities in Otero County, and this grant funds the business loans that are done in both counties. In the spring of 2015, I met with the Board of Commissioners from Los Animas, and none of you were on that. And I requested that you sign the Community Development Block Grant at that time. Those funds were used for both counties over the last 4 years. OB, as we call Otero Partners Incorporated, it's just easier, has funded 9 business loans in the amount of $454,300 in the last 4 years. And I have my presentation. I'll give you a copy of it if that helps you. 2 of these loans were businesses in Los Animas County, Mangino Automotive Service and Monument Lake Resort. Those loans were completed with the help of the Small Business Development Center, as well as International Bank, and I know they've changed their name, but I don't know what it is. Mike Jolly there has always told entrepreneurs about the Business Loan Fund, and that's how Mangino's and Monument Lake were able to reach out to us. The current CDBG grant expires at the end of April of this year. There's $173,166 left on that grant, and this amount was de-obligated last week in order for the state to consider a new application. The new grant application for the Business Loan Fund is in the amount of $250,000. $210,000 of that will be used for loans, and then $40,000 of it is for administration. When we have one of these loans and we make a $10,000 loan or whatever, we get 16% of the value of that loan back to OB in order to continue to do what we do. So that's the administrative $40,000. If we spend the whole $210,000 on loans, then $40,000 of that would come back to Otero Partners as administrative funds. That helps us pay postage, hopefully pay our audit when we separate from Otero County and become an entity of our own. I don't get anything from it. I'm paid by Otero County, and this is just one of the obligations I have for the county. These funds come from DOLA, and they need to benefit low and moderate low income persons, whether that is our borrowers or those that our borrowers employ. So 51% of the employment obligations have to go to low or moderate to low income people. And I'm here today to ask for your signature on the grant application. And I can walk through it with you or answer any questions that you might have about the application, the work that's been done, or anything else you might like to know. I do want you to know that your signatures are for only one. I don't know who is chair, but one signature is all we need. It's the grant application itself. Then you're signing that you have the legal right to sign. You know, the state has to have those assurances and certifications. And then citizen participation, that we've published a public notice, and we did that this last week. And there weren't any comments at Otero County, and there weren't any citizen comments from Los Animas County. And then that you do, the public notice is the third piece. So those are the pieces that you would be signing today.
So, welcome.
Thank you.
So, the previous one was a 4-year grant?
It's actually a 2-year grant. So the first time we apply, it's 2 years.
Okay.
And then if we're doing well and we run out of money, we can go back to the state, and we had 2 amendments. So ultimately, we had $714,000 to spend over the last 4 years.
Okay.
I should tell you the grant I came to the county in June of 2015, and we closed the CDBG, the previous CDBG, in early 2016 of that year. And so there was only one grant made in 4 years, one loan made in 4 years for $40,000. And so when I came in and had to de-obligate $203,000, I told the Otero County Commissioners, I will never come before you and ask you to de-obligate money again. I lied. I had to do it again. But I felt very good in the fact that we were able to get $454,000 out and only de-obligate $173,000. So they let me slide on my never, never again speech and agreed to sign that letter.
I might add that the 2 loans she mentioned for Los Animas County were the first loans in Los Animas County probably over 23, 24 years.
At least. The very first one that the only one I am aware of was for Donut Depot. And I need you to know that they continue to pay on that loan. I believe it was last December that they paid the last $800 off, and that was the first loan ever that I've been involved with that actually paid off. Now I've had 2 since then, but nonetheless, that was the only Los Animas County loan that I was aware of. And I have 0 documentation for it, so I don't know how long ago it was, but they did pay that off. So we do have 2 now.
And we appreciate you coming here. It was a year and a half ago. You came 2 years ago and did a presentation with us back then, and we got in contact with other local banks, and that's helping that lending avenue or resource available to alternate lending for our community really puts a little more assistance in our community for those that can't get funding on a general purpose type revenue or venue. When they have alternate funding available to those that don't have the best credit rating or best credit record, it sure gives another second chance for people in the community to keep a business going or start a new one up. So we applaud you now for your efforts and everything you do for Los Animas County residents as well as Otero County. I know we get to meet with you once a month in the hunt, and everybody gets to talk to how well you do your job. But I'd really like our community to know as well that this lady that lives in Atlanta is working hard for our community as well. We thank you for that.
Well, you're more than welcome. It takes a team. The Small Business Development Center and your local banks, again, have been tremendous. So I love to come alongside of those lending institutions and fill in the gap funding. We don't mind taking a second lien on properties or a second position on those things because we want our communities to prosper. And to see the kids that you have here and your dispatchers and your veterans officer and your veterans being so involved with your community, we can't let that die. So everything we can do as a team is worth it.
So on a best case scenario, what is the maximum amount that a community has access to? I know you say you are applying for a certain amount, but if you have the opportunity to do an amendment, what would be the,
Well, in 4 years, we were able to get over $700,000. So they will only go 4 years. So the first one is the 2-year contract, and they always start out, well, for our small size population, they're going to be $250,000 to start. If we run through that in 6 months, then I apply for a new amendment. The second amendment that we had was $170,000, and then the third amendment was $290,000. So that's as far as we can go. If there is a loan that comes in of $100,000 or more, and the loan review committee, which is comprised of Otero County and Los Animas County folks, if they approve that, that still has to go before the finance review committee of the state, and then they say yes or no to it. We have had one $100,000 loan 10 years ago. It paid off in February of 2019, and so it can happen. That particular loan was to purchase a corner building in downtown La Junta, and for office space as well as an eatery, and that building is still being utilized, and now that loan is paid off. So all of those funds that are repaid to the loan fund go into our revolved dollars, which means we've loaned them out once, they've paid them back, and now we get to loan them out again. What's really nice about revolved dollars is that they lose their federal identity. So we can be a little broader in what we loan for because they lose their federal identity. The other part is that all of the paperwork that the state requires us on revolved dollars are much less. So it's nice to be able to have a second pool of money that we can use if it's for, maybe they don't meet the credit rating that we're looking for. Maybe I'm working on hemp dramatically, trying to make sure that we can use our revolved dollars for hemp. Hemp is big in Otero County and southeastern Colorado and down in Baca County, and so I want to make sure we can do that because that industry is really coming around. So if we can, we have some dollars that we can do that with too.
Could you remind the audience or give me information on the interest rates on these loans?
Sure. We can go plus or minus 2 points on prime. So when prime climbed up a little bit, you know, it's usually about 5%, but it's been a little higher recently. We can go up to 7% or as low as 3%. And we base that on the project as well as the ability to repay. The loan review committee, I try and give them some scenarios. We could do this percentage for this many years and this would be their payment and several things like that. Normally they give me the permission to decide what that is, but if there are any, I have several bankers and accountants on the loan review committee and they'll say we want this. Or it doesn't matter to us, we just want them to get that building or get that business up and running. So plus or minus 2 on prime is pretty good. And we're not in competition with banks. That's why we partner with banks. Normally the folks we loan to either don't qualify, don't have enough assets, their cash flow doesn't work, but we can come alongside. And it doesn't stop at the loan process. And some of our board members will tell you, they call it the mom factor. It is continually talking to them about where are they. They have to provide their quarterly business reports, you know, balance sheet and profit and loss statement. They have to provide their income tax returns. And so they'll call and they'll say, I'm struggling with marketing. And that's where it's nice to go and have a partnership with the Small Business Development Center and say, this particular company needs some marketing. Do you have a consultant that can come over and lead them through some marketing or review their marketing plan and see if we can do something better? We have a hair salon in Manzanola that has been just devastated. She's not been able to get anything done. She's missed a couple of loan payments. SBDC and OJC got in touch with her, and now she is working with the cosmetology school to have a booth specifically for students that are coming out of the cosmetology arena to get into a booth at her shop to start doing what they've been learning and creating a clientele. Hopefully they'll stay, but if they don't, maybe they'll move to a community that doesn't have a hair salon and we can help them get started in their own business. So that's really starting to change her ability to repay her loan. And she's all asked, how much can I pay each month to make up what I'm behind? And so we've done a loan amendment with her and agreed to a certain amount. She's starting to catch up on what she wasn't able to pay before.
So maybe on that, once you set up the amortization payment schedule, is there any penalties for paying sooner? So that's
No prepayment penalties at all. We can amortize up to 10 years, or the loan length can only go to 10 years, but I have several loans that I've amortized over 20 years, and then they're on a 10-year track, so at the 10th year they would have a balloon payment. And then at that balloon payment, they could reapply if they wanted to cover that balloon payment, or we work with them to start setting aside some dollars so that they can manage that balloon payment after the 10th year.
And if I may just kind of follow up, are you working with, sounds like you are, SBDC, to create this kind of an incubator, business incubator type of process so there's securing the success of the businesses?
That's right. And SBDC, I think Rachel Patrick, who's leaving us in June, she comes down here and spends some time. She and I are actually in the same Score Center building on the Otero Junior College campus. And so that's exactly the way it should work. If she hears of a business and refers it to us, all economic developers can do that. La Junta has an economic developer, and they also refer people to us, to me. I mean us, like I have minions, but I don't. It's just me. So they'll refer people to me. And then if, again, we have a borrower that's not quite up to snuff or doesn't know how to do a business plan or a cash flow, I can refer them back to the SBDC for consulting purposes. And then they can get the help that they need, and then they come back and we start the loan process.
And you also work with SCEDD, right, in Pueblo, and Kathy Scott?
SCED, Southern Colorado Economic Development District, is now Shelley Dunham.
Shelley, she came here and did a presentation.
Good. I was chairman of that group when we hired her, and she is just fabulous. So I'm really glad that she came around and visited everyone. So yes, we do that. SECED, Southeast Colorado Enterprise Development, is the lower region 6, or the 6 counties in southeastern Colorado. We work with them. They have their own loan pool. But if she is in Otero County and finds somebody that needs a loan, she refers my way as well. And so it's a team effort. That's all I can say. I can't do it without Christy and the rest of the loan review committee. I can't do it without the commissioners and the city representatives on OB. You are welcome to come down anytime or conference in and listen. Some meetings are pretty boring. They last about 15 minutes. I made them stay for almost an hour and 10 minutes yesterday because there was a number of things we needed to discuss. And you would have thought I was keeping them from donuts and coffee or something, but we made it through, and I'm here today. So the program is a great program. Bob Todd with Office of Economic Development International Trade is a wonderful person to lead this group of folks. We attend 2 training classes every year. One's coming up in May. It'll be in Montrose. And all of the business loan administrators get together and talk about their loans and successes and failures and how to do things better and give advice. And we get to visit the groups or the businesses that have used the loan funds to get started and continue their business. So that's the good part of what we do.
Any questions?
No, thank you. That was
Where do I sign? So you can be on your way.
Oh, you better have a motion and all that kind of thing. I even know that part, Luis.
I heard a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Felix Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Commissioner Luis Lopez?
Yes. You have a pen?
I have a lot of kids.
That's a good one.
Okay. Yes, please do.
was driving?
Oh, it was a wonderful drive this morning.
It's pretty lovely.
It is pretty, and I'm a outdoor kind of girl, so I love the cedar trees. We have to see dead animals on the road, which is even better.
No.
Do you want a copy of this? I can do that. Anything else I can do for you?
No, I just once again thank you and our partners. It is a really true asset. Once you're able to hear a very good presentation by Ms. Burke compared to my tidbits that I give on our commissioner's report, it shows the community how valuable and how well spread out this program is in Southern Colorado. So we thank you and for all your efforts and what you do.
Thank you for your signatures.
Thank you. And consideration of IFB 19-S001 jail security camera system.
Commission, we solicited bids for jail security camera system for the City Justice Center. With the following results: Johnson Controls $164,677, Computer Kernel $119,448, Colorado Security $319,000, ICANN Video Management Solutions $105,730.37, Johnson UTBP $120,000, TriStar Advanced Tech $143,676 for an Axis system, $112,794.72 for High Vision or Hit Vision, Baca Valley Telephone $130,000, Google $207,900, Retail Marketing Services $94,595. When I went through the bid documents regarding retail merchant services, the bid of $94,595, the lowest bid. Within our bid docs, we had a questionnaire that asked for requirements, and within those requirements, there was also an alternate. A retail merchant didn't complete any of the questionnaire. Their work comp covers Texas. Colorado isn't listed as one of the states that the work comp covers could be required insurance and work comp proof when they submit their bids. For those two reasons, I'd ask the board to consider this bid from retail merchant $94,595 non-compliant. ICANN Video bid $105,730.37. Within our requirements, item 1 reads, evidence of ability to meet 4-hour response time in case of emergency. Their bid reads that their nearest location is in Denver, which is approximately 3 hours away. And in my opinion, that wholly depends upon weather and traffic. There have been times when another engineering consulting firm we're working with on the courthouse project has told me they spent 3 hours on I-25 between Denver and Monument Hill because of traffic and accidents, etc., with good weather. Item 2 of the requirements, evidence of the office or location within a 100-mile radius, and as I mentioned a minute ago, their nearest office is in Denver, which is 202 miles away. They also listed some assumptions, one of those being all work would be done via ladders. Because they didn't do a site visit and that wasn't required, my thoughts were that if the company is interested in working for Los Angeles County and installing those cameras, they would take that upon themselves. They didn't do a site visit, so they don't know if ladders will take care of the entire installation process, if they're going to lift. They also mentioned within there that if a lift was required, that Los Angeles County would be the ones paying for that. Again, I also wanted a sub-network infrastructure to keep network noise off the client. I'm not sure what that is, but it's something like it's going to cost taxpayers of Los Angeles County some money. And that there is also available a rack of at least 200 use space vehicles. I'm not sure what that is, but it's going to cost us money on top of their bid of $105,000. So, Article 1-2 reads sealed bids, that they fill out the proposed award, which they did, but it didn't include all of the assumptions. So I considered it as though it wasn't complete in place as our bid docs require. So with all that previously stated, I asked the board to consider this bid also non-compliant. TriStar Tech, the Hip Vision cameras, $112,794.17. It's brought to my attention by the individual who submitted the bid that these cameras have apparently been banned by the federal government, and I guess it's because of their vulnerability to be hacked into. I'm really not sure. I went online and tried to decipher the language that there's not 2019 NDAA at the federal level explains, but I wasn't real sure what they were trying to tell me, except for the fact that these cameras have been banned. Article 1.4, the bid docs reads, the bidders must utilize the bid proposal offer and award. And within the bid proposal, etc., there was verbiage that says see estimates, so we went looking through the bid packets, myself and County Assistant Paula Cerro here, and she found those estimates. I went ahead and filled in on their bid proposal that estimate. Also went through some more of our requirements, and the first 5 were not completed. I made phone calls on both the estimate and on the requirements to the individual who dropped the bid off, trying to clarify the requirements and also the estimate, which in hindsight, I don't believe I should have done because I didn't afford other companies who didn't complete the requirements of that same opportunity. And then when I got down to the warranties, again, it just said look for the warranties within the bid packets, and at that point I thought I'm not going to make any more phone calls and repeat myself. I hadn't afforded the other bidders that opportunity, and I was frankly making myself out of our own bid document compliances requirements, in my opinion. And in their second bid of the access cameras, $143,676. So I'd ask the board to also consider the Hip Vision camera bid of $112,794 non-compliant because of the ban on the cameras at the federal level, and also myself having to fill out the bid proposals and requirements. Computer kernel had a bid of $119,448. This company completed all the bid documents and as required in reference attachments that were titled the heading link to the attachments. Within our requirements, there was a question and they answered yes about operating under a different name in the past 5 years, but the companies that they listed are all current companies. They're not companies that have been that they operate under and ran into financial hardships, I'll say, like bankruptcy, and then start up new companies. The companies are all still current. Insurance and work comp are all current. I'd ask the board to approve their bid of $119,448. And then I think the proper procedure then would be for me to develop a work order for an additional 3 cameras, because within the bid docs, we also, as an option, asked each vendor what it would cost us to add an additional 10 cameras if we could afford it. But I think in front of the board right now is the bid of $119,448, although my email states differently. Reflecting back on that, I ask the board to approve that.
Captain Mangino, do you have anything regarding or Sheriff or Lieutenant Stephen?
No, sir. And this issue has been brought before the city attorney. We did a presentation at their last city council meeting, and once this is approved, we're going to ask the city, which they kind of obligated to help us with half, possibly. So I'm glad we're finally coming to this day. We've had over 2 years of or probably 3 or 4 years of camera systems have been failing or neglected. I'd just like to let you know, Captain Mangino and I will be going back to the city attorney in 2 weeks, presenting them with
helping us with this financial matter.
Commissioners, if you have any questions, both the representatives of TriStar and Computer Kernel are here. If there's any questions, Chad.
I don't know if I'm allowed to speak or not. I'm also representing.
Please go on. Thank you. And state your name for the record.
Of course. Hi, I'm Aaron Turquist. I'm here to represent Retail Merchant Services. I was in the restroom when you guys read that one off. I'm so sorry. It appears to me that several of your bids were found non-compliant. As someone who's been in the technical industry now for over 20 years, who knows this very well, it seems as though the requirements and what you were asking for in the bid proposal were very unclear. While you might have thought they were very clear, because you spent a lot of time, gathering what you wanted to put together in that. We looked at it, my boss and I looked at it, and it seems like if you were to meet with all of the people who placed bids now, post having chosen one, and thoroughly explain to them, this is what we're looking for. How would you present that? And then let us re-present our bids. I think you might be much happier with the one that you choose in the end. Because there's a lot of technical details that I think would behoove you to have explained to you by someone who can put it into everyday language. So a lot of this technical jargon where you read off several things in the third bid where you weren't quite sure what they meant, but it obviously meant something well enough for them to write it down. So they, as intelligent technical individuals, thought that that was important. And I just feel like if you had those things explained to you and you were able to make that knowledgeable decision, it would really behoove Trinidad altogether. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, and hearing, yes, so please go on. And on your comment, so to hear that, if you would have been more put in layman terms for us to understand, maybe we're not technical, intelligent guys, so I have a hard time turning myself around in the morning.
Thank you for hearing me out, guys.
Good morning, gentlemen, ladies. I appreciate it and feel blessed to be here and speak in front of you. I am the owner of TriStar Advanced Technologies. We've provided technical services for the city of Trinidad. We did the city cameras, and I agree with this gentleman too. The proposal or RFP was very vague. We had a broad range that we could go between. That's why I submitted 2 quotes. One for high vision, one for access. I didn't have much time to propose the access ordeal, but after being talked to Phil here, he informed me that the high vision wasn't going to be accepted and that the access was the only one that was an American-made company. What I did there is talk to the rep, and I was able to bring down my proposal to $123,000 for the access system. So we got all our paperwork there.
You're the TriStar?
I'm TriStar, yeah. We got
so that's the one that had the cameras in the bid.
I did, yes, I did 2 bids. And I'm the one that brought to the attention of everybody that the president has put these high vision and Daewoo cameras on a ban that's going to go into effect in August of 2019.
So I asked, why would you put a camera in a bid that's going
because
to
it's only affected by federally funded projects. And I don't know, I went to Rick, or Phil, I went to Rick Mangino, and I asked if it's a federally funded project or not, and nobody can answer, and I guess they were going to get in contact with you guys, and I never got a return call.
The funding for this venture comes from a capital improvement 1-cent sales tax that was put in place to the voters of Los Angeles County many years ago when the jail was built. So that's where that funding comes in.
So it's not federal?
From like local funding. So the federal wouldn't
wouldn't affect it. So I came in with a quote of $112,000 on the high vision, and that's the same equipment that we put in the police department across the street here.
Now you mentioned that you did work with the city. Were you the direct contractor or you were
Direct contractor, but I am also subcontracted by Stanley Security too.
That's
what
I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm licensed. I got my license, and I have an Illinois license, one of 360 vendors in the state of Illinois that are. It's a Class X felony if you put in security in Illinois and are not licensed. And I've been licensed. I've been doing this for 26 years. I've got a bucket truck. We didn't include nothing about this because we're already prepared. We've got everything we need to do what we need to do. I've done the annex buildings. I've done the city hall. I've done the welcome center. I've done the Berto Center. The police department. I did all the fire, burg, and interrogation rooms with cameras and microphones. All the cameras you see out on the building. Prepared for future expansion. I'm not real good at the speaking stuff, but I've been doing this for 26 years on my own, and before that, my dad was a Chicago policeman. I worked with him from the time I was a young kid, and he did that as a side deal, put it in the cameras. When he was licensed, so I worked under his license until he told me I had to get a license. And we're also a generator company. We do backup generators. We're covered from Lumen Electric for our electrical license. I mean, we got the bases covered across the board for everything we do, and we've done a ton of work in the city. We provide all your guys' panic systems in the dispatch, all the work that's in the dispatch, all the monitors upstairs in the council chambers. We did all that whole room up there with all the TVs and the podiums and all the recording information. So I've been busy here for the last 4 years. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I got a pretty good breakdown there of everything that's what. Like I said, I dealt with the access rep. I didn't have time to do it before because it was all brought to my attention late about this project. But I've got an access rep that said she's willing to come in here and put a live demo. The cameras that we've got throughout the city are all access cameras. They're all everything, the whole equipment. And the only reason I was able to bring that price down on that quote was because we were giving you guys a Cadillac of the NVRs for the sheriff's department there. And with that, there's a license that they have to put on these. I would consider it proprietary. High Vision is not, but Access is like a proprietary system. So you have to have these licenses that go along with it. Well, when we changed the recorder from the Cadillac to the mini Cadillac, which is now Access, it included 96 of the licenses for the IP cameras. So what that did was it knocked down the quote 13,000 there. They were able to work me a little bit on the cameras, and that's my proposal there of where I can come in with the access equipment. As far as high vision goes, that's fantastic equipment. That's what I got there. I got it in 3 of my properties. We've done a bunch of dispensaries here, and just till recently, the president threw this into the mix about the government facilities not being able to have this because they're manufactured in China or manufactured in Japan. Russian chips are supposed to be in there, Chinese chips are in there. I know we were going against this GW equipment, and GW is supposed to be a U.S. Made company. No, it's a U.S. technically based company. All their products come from China, and they're manufactured in Illinois, but they still have the Chinese products in it. And they call it, exactly. So just because GW wasn't on the list, they say it's like a hidden, there's a white line where they're falling because they're manufacturing here, but it's still got the same chips in it that these other guys, High Vision and Daewoo are the main OEM manufacturers of all the Panasonic, Sony. You can see on those lists there, I've got them broken down there. It explains everything on there. Like I say, the access is what we put in the system, or in the city. It's a Swiss-made company, and it's got a reputation as being the elite of everything. There's nobody going to top that equipment. And like I said, give you a breakdown. The cameras I quoted, I think I said, have 100,000 hours of time on them, which basically equals 11 years. So out of their cameras, that's where they're noted. I've also got this here. This is actually, I don't want to print out these out. You guys can have this. This is the thing that tells you it's got 4,166 days, 11.415 years for that camera quoted. And then this is 2016 annuals for the vendors. So it explains you all about access. I've got in here projects that were used that were for facilities and also gyms.
So this current bid that shows up on our proposal of 143.
I was able to.
Let me make a comment, just for the purposes, we have not awarded the bid, and I really appreciate your information. I'm not gonna look through any of your information here because it sounds like we may have to go there. Well, I really appreciate your presentation, this is something, one of the best.
You guys know this when
Yes.
nobody seems to know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, so thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I think, for now, we have, we'll re-engage in conversation because I do have a couple of questions, that's gonna be internally, but,
Yes, sir.
while we're going through the award has not been made,
I understand.
me looking at these documents, which I will not, certainly, I just don't want to compromise the process.
I understand. I do.
And having said that, we have a bid.
I'd like to just advise you on how to move forward. Can we take a brief executive session?
Yes.
And I've got everything. Any questions, anything, I've got all the documents.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Felix Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Commissioner Luis Lopez?
Yes.
Better get your tape recorder. Is the finance thing here?
No, it's just procedure.
These are going to executive. 5 minutes.